When Days Gone released, critics weren't exactly impressed. IGN gave it a 6.5, and GameSpot a brutal 5 out of 10. With the impending remaster, I looked up the game in my Steam library, and apparently, I wasn't much of a fan either. So naturally, I had to give it another chance. So here's the thing. I've been doing YouTube for about a year now, and Days Gone is the one game that keeps popping up in my comments. Whether I'm talking about Mad Max being a modern classic, or Avatar Frontiers of Pandora being overlooked, Days Gone keeps coming up as a game that was misjudged. Maybe even unfairly criticized. So with the repeated mentions, the upcoming remaster, and finding my own 2021 criticism that, quite honestly, I had completely forgotten about, I think it's time to ask, was I wrong? This isn't a review. We'll talk about the good and the bad, but this is also about something bigger. How time, patches, and a fresh perspective can change how a game feels. First, I need to address the elephant in the room. A lot of criticism tied to Days Gone release had to do with performance. I'd love to see support for DLSS, FSR, or other super sampling solutions to help older PCs run the game better, but as it stands, the performance is quite good. It's buttery smooth. You will still see the occasional bug, but nothing game-breaking, and on my RTX 4070, it runs quite well. I came back to Days Gone expecting to still dislike the combat, but honestly, I kinda like it now. Before I dive into that, if you enjoy this kind of video, please give it a like. It really helps the channel, but also, we need more eyes on this game. I would love to see an improved sequel, and that's kind of up in the air if we're gonna get that or not. Now, about the combat, it's not the most refined third-person shooting, and the way Deacon goes into cover always makes you question if he really is in cover or not. But once you get into it, it feels kinda good. Melee attacks are weighty and crunchy, shooting is responsive, I'm a huge fan of the shotguns, and Days Gone's signature mechanic, the Freaker Hordes, still amazing. This is what truly makes Days Gone stand out. When I originally played the game back in 2021, I kinda disliked the Freaker Hordes, but I'll admit that probably I was the problem. Instead of playing these fights like an action puzzle with escape routes and setting up traps, I tried to simply brute force them, which of course was frustrating and the wrong way to do it. Combat overall feels good, it never feels unfair, and whenever I die, it always feels like it was my own fault. I also have to give Days Gone credit for its open world design. The map is gorgeous with varied locales, and the bike makes it feel good to ride from place to place. I've tried a lot of open world vehicles. Some are amazing, some are awful. From the Mako's bouncy nightmare physics in Mass Effect 1, to the Batbike's frustrating handling in Gotham Knights, all the way to the incredible horses in Red Dead Redemption 2. And you know what? Days Gone's bike, it's up there with the best of them. The day-night cycle also feels meaningful, with more freakers outside when it's dark, or hiding more indoors when it's daytime, for example in caves. And as you explore, you'll see these blue question marks pop up on the map, and these are definitely hit or miss. I get that they're meant to highlight points of interest, but I think me and Bend Studios have very different ideas of what's actually interesting. Sometimes a question mark will take you to a survivor you can save and send to camp. Those are fun. But the question marks can also be something as simple as a guy that died in a public toilet and left behind a bottle or some simple irrelevant resource. Or here in one of the camps where they use it to lead you to a guy playing guitar. It's not exactly riveting stuff. And this inconsistency in the quality of what I can find led me to often just ignoring these question marks, and that's a shame. The random ambushes by humans always feel like they make sense though. They're not so frequent, it's annoying.
Damn it. Raiders, damn it. What are you?
And it just feels right that from time to time people will attack you when you try to loot fuel for the bike. But progression is a real problem. Aside from putting minor upgrades on my bike and buying new guns, there's not much to work towards here. Sure, you can upgrade Deacon, but leveling up a camp completely, it feels kind of lame. You get a thank you radio call, something you can put on your bike that may or may not improve it, and the ability to buy grenades. A weapon that maybe you want can now be purchased, and that's it. And the grenades are really not that useful when you can do your own pipe bombs. Now this could have been taken so much further. Why not let us customize our outfits? Why am I just buying weapons instead of modding them into something unique? These people have access to high-end sniper rifles, but no one knows how to customize a grip, sand down the stock for a smaller and more nimble weapon, or adding a quick-release magazine to the side of a rifle? I mean, come on. Enemy NPCs will drop their weapon, but they're always weaker than what you have, so I did that maybe twice in my playthrough, and being able to at least make my own weapons more personal, well, it feels like a missed opportunity. The star of the show here is really the world. It's satisfying to traverse on the bike, gorgeous to look at, and there's plenty of things to do. Defeating hordes of freakers, closing freaker nests, taking over ambush camps, or clearing Nero checkpoints. And also some side missions where you basically do the camp's dirty work or help them out. As far as an open world checklist type of game goes, this is pretty good. Ignoring the flaws of the game and just looking at Days Gone from this perspective, I would put it up there with Far Cry 3 and Mad Max. Yes, I mentioned Mad Max in another video, and I'll never stop. And yeah, the progression is a problem, but honestly, my absolutely biggest issue with the game is the pacing overall. The game just really suffers because of this. Story missions display this the best. Quite often I would find myself walking from cutscene to cutscene with nothing happening in between. If this only happened occasionally with 2 cutscenes back to back, I wouldn't even think about it. But it happens constantly. Almost every second or third mission. Sometimes it's 3 cutscenes in a row, broken up by nothing but pointless walking. Just merging them into one would have done wonders for pacing. It's really something that could have easily been avoided with some solid writing and playtesting. And if the stars align and we do get a sequel, this is just instrumental to making the game feel a lot more cohesive and smooth. And it's not just the story. The gameplay pacing is all over the place too. The freaker hordes were the biggest selling point of this game. They were all over the marketing. So why does it take hours to actually fight one? I'm not saying they should throw everything at you during the first half hour. Just, dole out a bit of the good stuff more evenly instead of pushing it too far back. And without spoiling too much, yes, there are forced stealth missions, and if you fail, boom, instant game over. No second chances, no alternate approaches, just back to the checkpoint. Characters flip back and forth on what you can expect from them, and some are just straight up caricatures that are not fleshed out at all. I'm looking at you, Schizo. You suck. And then, well, we have our protagonist, Deacon. Deacon isn't a bad protagonist, but he's not exactly memorable either. He's another tough, emotionally closed-off survivor with a tragic past. Someone we've seen in 100 other games. It's like his backstory begins and ends with meeting his wife. There's nothing deeper. Why is he not explored deeper? It would give him a lot more flavor than biker that lost his wife. Why are we not exploring his time in the military, or how and why he joined the biker gang? Maybe his upbringing, all parts of who he is that are just mentioned offhand and brushed to the side. The writing doesn't do him any favors, and while I understand the stakes, I never really felt them. With that being said, the world itself tells a better story than the cutscenes ever do. You'll find abandoned camps that hint at how people tried and failed to survive, environmental details that reinforce just how brutal this world is, and even overheard dialogue that feels more natural than some of the scripted moments. It's the little things, like stumbling across a burned out house with a barricaded door, or a note hinting at what happened before everything fell apart, that makes the world feel more real than the story ever does. And with that being said, Days Gone does nail some things. The survival aspect, the biker culture, the tension of the world itself, all of that works well in gameplay. Stronger writing and storytelling could have made Days Gone truly great, but as it stands, the world does more heavy lifting than the actual narrative. And with that, we're going to circle back to what I asked in the beginning of this video. Was I initially wrong about Days Gone? Honestly, yeah, kind of. It's not a hidden masterpiece, but it's definitely not the disaster it was made out to be. And with the remaster on the way, hopefully more people will take the chance to judge it for themselves. The real question is, will Days Gone finally get the recognition it deserves? Guess we'll find out pretty soon. And while I kinda recommend Days Gone, I wholeheartedly encourage everyone to play Max Payne 3. I talk about that masterpiece here, subscribe for more, and I will see you in the next one.